What's good, y'all? It's LDR, and I'm here to bring you the LDR quick takes about my favorite time of the year. March is upon us, and you know what that means. It is full blown college basketball March Madness season, and you know I had to come on here and talk to you about what you guys know I love, which is women's college basketball. I am over here excited like I'm Dick Vitale. And so I wanted to come on here. You know, I got my notes. I'm prepared to break this all down for y'all and just get on here and talk about what I foresee happening in these conference tournaments that kicked off this week and that will go into next week through like Monday or Tuesday, and what we can anticipate coming out of those tournaments as we head into Selection Sunday, and then of course the granddaddy of them all, March Madness. So let me kick it off here. I'm going to break it down by conference. So I'm going to kick this off with the Big East. So I don't foresee any surprises with the Big East. I mean, the Big East is the home of UConn, and so I expect UConn to do what UConn does, and that's win. Let's jump into the Big 12 conference. So this is a conference that includes Baylor, Texas Tech, Texas, and Oklahoma. Haven't really been hearing a lot nationally about these programs. There's other conferences that have been getting a lot more shine, and you know I'll talk about those in a sec. But what I am looking forward to seeing in the Big 12, hopefully they make it. I would like to see Texas and Oklahoma in the championship matchup. So Texas is currently ranked 6th in the nation. Oklahoma is ranked 19th. These two teams have already had two matchups earlier this season. Although Texas is the higher ranked team, Oklahoma definitely seems to have their number and have been handing them their 10-gallon hat this season. So I'm expecting to see Texas to try to get some get back. And I also think whoever wins this championship game, if Texas and Oklahoma make it, it will definitely have implications for their seeding come Selection Sunday. So this matchup, whoever comes in at the championship, especially if it's these two nationally ranked teams, if they make it to the Big 12 championship, it will definitely have implications for the winner and the loser come Selection Sunday. Next up, the Big Ten. So this is the conference that's been getting all the love, all the attention. You name it, they've been getting it because of the one, the only, the record breaker herself, Caitlin Clark, Iowa. So first off, Caitlin Clark broke another record on Friday in Iowa's victory against Penn State. She now holds the record for most three-pointers made in a collegiate career. She has now bypassed Steph Curry, who previously held the record at 162, and she broke it. And the record's now 164. Had to look at my notes here, make sure I wanted to get those information correct for y'all. So Caitlin Clark, all she's been doing all year, as we all know, is breaking records, and breaking records. I mean, she out here like a DJ on the radio with all the records she's breaking. So yeah, Iowa, I foresee them making it to the to the tournament, their conference tournament championship game. What also happened in the Big Ten is there was a big upset that has major implications. Maryland defeated the number one ranked team within the Big Ten conference, which was Ohio State. That was not expected. That is definitely going to have big implications for Ohio State. They were projected to have a number one seeding within the tournament on Selection Sunday. So that's probably shot now based on them getting knocked out by Maryland. What I'm noticing with Ohio State is that they haven't looked like themselves since that game they lost, that final regular season game they lost to Iowa. They don't seem to have their footing. Even in that game that they lost, they were not really playing a game plan, being effective with their game plan as far as going inside like they did when they beat Iowa earlier in the season. It's going to be interesting to see if they can get their footing together and get back in rhythm. The last thing you want going into the NCAA tournament is going in on a losing streak and you're not in a rhythm. I mean, that's the quickest way to get knocked off and eliminated in first and second rounds. You want to go in on a high note. Everybody needs to be in rhythm. Everybody needs to be gelling. And Ohio State is not looking like that right now. So it'll be interesting to see if they regroup. But like I stated, I don't foresee anyone but Iowa winning the Big Ten conference tournament. Um, I don't see them. I don't see them losing. If Iowa does lose, it will be in the tournament. They are not the same team that they were last year. As great as Caitlin has been playing, that team definitely has some deficiencies as it relates to their post play and a post present. They lost their top post player last year. She was a senior. She went into the WNBA, and you're seeing those deficiencies have manifested, and you're able to see behind the curtain per se, where some of their weaknesses are this year. So if Iowa does lose, I foresee it happening in the tournament. And I will say this now: some people may not think this is a popular opinion, but I'm just gonna say it because this is what I do. I would not be surprised if Iowa does not make it to the Elite Eight, and somebody literally bursts this massive, wonderful Caitlin Clark bubble that has taken over women's basketball. So remember, if it happens, who said it first? One more note about Maryland. I forgot to mention it earlier when I was breaking down the Big Ten. I would not be surprised to see Maryland end up in the Big Ten conference finals against Iowa. And just because I know how she is as a coach and what type of team she puts together, and they're always defensively focused and they're scrappy, I do not ever count out a Maryland coach team by Coach Brenda Freeze. So if anybody potentially in the Big Ten might give Iowa a run for their money come tournament time within their conference in the Big Ten tournament, it could be Maryland. So if it happens, hey, this is another thing that y'all can say LDR said it first. Let's get off into the ACC. So Friday, there was an upset that I didn't see coming. Florida State upset Syracuse. Was not expecting that. Syracuse has a really good squad that I like. I expect them to, cause some difficulties for some teams during the tournament. They're led by a real scrappy point guard. She's undersized, but she's scrappy. I like her play. Hasn't got a lot of the attention this season due to the fact you got Juju going crazy. You got Caitlin doing what she's doing, and Hannah Hidalgo doing what she does as well. But Fair is fire. She's nice with it. DeAsia Fair is nice. I've been enjoying watching her play. Unfortunately, like I said, Florida State knocked them off on Friday. Florida just seemed to be quicker, playing well in transition. And so it'll be interesting to see how Syracuse rebounds going into the tournament. Like I said, I think they're a good squad. They might disrupt some people's NCAA tournament dreams if they can get back into the rhythm they were in prior to this loss. Their head coach is the ACC Coach of the Year. That's Coach Jack, Felicia Leggett-Jack. So be interesting to see how they rebound, if they can get back in rhythm as we get into the tournament. So that's where we got with the ACC as far as the upsets. The game to watch on Saturday will be the Virginia Tech Notre Dame game. That's going to be an interesting game, especially since Virginia Tech will be without their ACC Player of the Year, Elizabeth Keatley. So Amore is definitely going to have to step up in ways that she hasn't, and that's going to be a hard task against this Notre Dame team. I mean, Hannah Hidalgo has come in, Olivia Miles, who was the leader of the team, has been out all season with an injury. And Hannah Hidalgo, as a freshman, has come in and literally kind of just put this team on her back. She won ACC Freshman of the Year. She won ACC Defensive Player of the Year as a freshman. She leads the team in steals. She's averaging double figures in points. She's scrappy. Like, I enjoy watching her play. So I really think this is going to be a good game. Like I said, it'll be interesting to see how Virginia Tech responds because they are going to be without Keatley, which is a huge blow for them. I mean, she averages like 22 points a game for them, so a big part of their offense will be missing, and Virginia Tech is going to have to get those points from other players, with Amore having to lead that charge. The other game that's happening on Saturday within the ACC is the NC State Florida State game. I expect NC State to win that game. They got a scrappy guard as well. Scrappy guard play is a lot of what I'm seeing in the ACC, which is really something to key in on come tournament time, because if you don't have good guard play, your teams typically don't win. So for that ACC championship game, I'm thinking it's going to be NC State, and I'm giving the nod to Notre Dame. I just think that they're on a good roll right now, and with Virginia Tech not having Kitley, it's gonna pose some problems for them. So I'm calling that. I think that ACC championship game is gonna be North Carolina State and Notre Dame. And then we are, of course, going to jump into the conference that has one of my favorite teams and one of my all-time favorite players, which is the SEC. And I'm going to start it with the South Carolina Gamecocks. I mean, Dawn just keeps amazing us all. I mean, she was one of my favorite players when she was in college, and, the impact that she had, but seeing what she's doing as a coach is on a whole nother level. I mean, South Carolina was not even projected to do not even a fraction of what they're doing right now. Last season, they lost their whole starting lineup. So they had a new starting five, brand new players who hadn't started. Cardoza came off the bench last year. Pow is a new addition. She's a transfer from Oregon, which is an amazing pickup for South Carolina. Like, she is a piece that they so desperately needed. If they would have had a player like her last year, I don't think they would have lost to Iowa. Iowa and got knocked out of contention to win a national championship. I mean, Pow brings point guard veteran leadership. She transferred from Oregon, plus she brings in that much needed, which they did not have last year, the 3-point shooting. I mean, she is leading the league in 3-point, leading women's college basketball in 3-point percentage. She's shooting 49% from the 3-point line, which is outstanding. Their post presence is phenomenal from Cardoso, from Watkins. Chloe Kitts has come in and played exceptionally well. Raven Johnson has improved her game tremendously from where she was last year. I don't expect, if South Carolina and Iowa meet up, that Caitlin Clark is going to be waving her off like I don't have to worry about guarding her. And South Carolina's depth is something as well that poses a difficulty for anybody that plays against them. They have depth, and that's always something important to have, those bodies, when you go further down into the tournament. So, I expect South Carolina to do what South Carolina does. They won on Friday against Texas A&M. It wasn't a huge margin of victory for them as usual. I mean, it wasn't like a 20-point blowout. I think it came in like under 20. It might have been between the 10-12 range, which is low for them. But what they've done this season is phenomenal. They recorded their second season of going undefeated. They were undefeated during the regular season last year, undefeated in regular season this year. They were the only basketball team, men's or women's, to have an undefeated season this year. They broke the record, like they broke so many records. They broke the record for most consecutive wins in the SEC, breaking Tennessee's record, which was set of course, by Pat Summitt. They also broke the record for having like 57 straight home wins. I mean, they're a phenomenal team. I mean, everyone has predicted and has them as the number one choice to win the national championship. Like, the only thing that causes an area of concern as it relates to South Carolina, and I mean, and they've kind of showed that this might not even be an area of concern because they've had some tight games. They've had some, the LSU game. They've had some moments they've been tested, having to, getting themselves into deficit. So, like, the only concern that I see with South Carolina is the fact that they have players who've never been to a tournament before. I mean, Kawhi Lee, she's been doing great things. She had a razzle dazzle play on Friday. She did a Rondo-like pass that that was circulating on social media. So I definitely think South Carolina will be in the SEC championship game. They play Tennessee on Saturday, so that'll be a matchup for them. And then LSU plays Ole Miss on Saturday. I definitely foresee a rematch come the SEC championship game. I'm seeing nothing other than a road to South Carolina and LSU meeting up again and us getting a rematch of what we saw in January, and I'll expect that to be an even better game than the first one, just on the fact that South Carolina was already gelling, but LSU has finally found their stride. They had a lot of players that they transferred in, so they it took them some time to get in rhythm, to start gelling, and they are definitely in rhythm, and they are like gelling at just the right time, just the right around tournament time is an awesome time. Come your conference tournaments and championship games, and then you carry that over into the NCAA tournament. This is the perfect time for everything to start, like everybody being in sync, and that's kind of what's happening right now for LSU. And this is kind of how they won the national championship last year. They started gelling at the right time. So I would not count LSU out, especially when it comes to the tournament. They could easily end up being, in the Final Four. I could see that happening. Angel Reese has been so dominant, since she's been back. She's gotten whatever, whatever reasons why she was out. You would never know it now because she is back in rhythm. She won SEC Player of the Year. She's second in the nation in rebounding. She's averaging a double-double, 19 points, 16 boards. Flage, she's coming into her own, especially on the defensive end. She is bought into whatever Kim has talked to her about. Coach Kim has talked to her about what she needed from her defensively, and she's bought into that. Michaela Williams, she won SEC Freshman of the Year, and she has been balling out. And then the transfer, Anissa Morrow, she has been a great offensive addition to that program. And then you have Poa. I think I'm trying to make sure I didn't mispronounce that, but I think it's Poa, and she is one of their guards, and she literally sacrifices her body defensively. She has taken 30 charges this season. I mean, hey, everybody needs somebody on their team that's willing to do that defensive dirty work, and she's doing it. So definitely, like I said, it's going to be a South Carolina and LSU SEC championship game, and I know that is one that I highly recommend that everybody tunes in for, because it's going to be a doozy. It's going to be a fight like it was in January when they went head up. And I think it's going to be an even better game, just for the simple fact that LSU is a better team than they were in January. And so is South Carolina. But I think the growth and the leap has been larger for LSU because they had a lot more to think they had a lot more to overcome from where they were in January till now, as far as getting that team to kind of mesh together and understand, like, what players like, where they like the ball, and get used to playing with each other. Whereas it seemed in January, South Carolina already had that down. So I'm looking forward to these matchups. I highly encourage you guys to watch some women's basketball. This season has been phenomenal. And yeah, check it out. So I am going to save the best for last. Pac 12, man, I mean, women's Pac 12 basketball has been phenomenal this season. I'm so sad that this is literally going to be the last year of the Pac 12. I mean, it's just like in football, how the men in football and college football and Pac 12 were going all out for the final year, had like 8 teams at one time ranked. Women's basketball is pretty much doing the same, and this tournament has kicked off. And in my opinion, out of all the games that I've watched across conferences, the Pac 12 games have been the best. I mean, we've had 2 overtime games. The first one was Colorado and Oregon State that happened on Thursday. And then we had another double overtime game Friday night between USC and UCLA. This was their third matchup for the season, and SC pulled it out with a double overtime victory. I mean, oh gosh, it was an amazing game. But before I jump off into that, I'm going to talk about that in a minute, that SC UCLA game. I just want to cover off on some other stuff as it relates to Pac-12. So the Pac-12 on Thursday had 4 nationally ranked teams that went up against each other in their tournament. Like, that's unheard of in one day. I mean, you had Colorado, Utah, Oregon State, and SC all playing. That, like I said, that Oregon State Colorado game, and went into overtime. Today, referencing Friday, Stanford came from behind. They were down by 16 at the end of the first half. They came back, pulled out the win. Cameron Brink and Hannah Jump had great games to pull that out. So Stanford is now headed to the championship game. This is, and I want to get all these numbers right, will be Stanford's 7th appearance in 8 years for a Pac-12 championship. Like Tara Vanderveer, everybody, man, Stanford always has tight programs. And this is another phenomenal stat. Stanford has been to the conference finals championship game 20 of the last 23 years in Pac-12 play, Pac-10, Pac-12 play. So I just wanted to highlight that. So you're going to get on Sunday on ESPN at 2 p.m. because, I'm from LA, so I'm going to big up the conference that's in my city, where my teams reside. That game is going to happen on Sunday at 2 p.m. on ESPN. But I just want to wrap this up on the USC UCLA game that happened Friday night, that double overtime game. Man, Juju just keeps getting better and better. She ended the game with 33 points and 10 boards, so she had a double-double. But the key to that game, and the key for SC to advance and really make an impact in the tournament, are the role players, and they showed up today. Caitlin Davis, even though, she might not show it on the stat sheet, she was the real MVP of that game. She was literally out there looking like Dennis Rodman. She had 16 boards, playing defense, getting the loose balls. I mean, she had a phenomenal game. Like, a lot of what she did that caused them to win that game is not going to show up on a stat sheet, but I want to give her big ups because there was no way SC would have won that game without her. The game was physical. Juju rolled her ankle within the first 2 minutes of the game. She was getting knocked around. SC's main post player, Marshall, she had a black eye. I mean, when I say it was physical, like it was a heavyweight match and they were slugging it out, that's what it was. I mean, like I said, this was their 3rd time playing this season, and every time they have played, both teams have just elevated. UCLA had a phenomenal game. Lauren Betts had a double-double. Osborne played well. Kiki Rice was doing all the little things, playing phenomenal defense on between her and Osborne. Were playing phenomenal defense on Juju, but it just wasn't enough. But I mean, when I say it was an excellent game, and I know I've been saying that about so many Pac-12 games this season, but this one was, man, it doesn't get better than a crosstown rival, double overtime, and a team that was not picked to even go this far with SC. And I mean, Juju is phenomenal as a freshman. I've seen her play. I've gone to quite a bit of games this season in person, and the hype is real. And she's only going to get better. The only area which causes concern for me with her as we get into the tournament, because this win over UCLA is definitely going to have implications come Selection Sunday. UCLA was being projected to go in Selection Sunday as a number one seed. Stanford basically already punched their ticket to be a number one seed in the tournament. But I'm really thinking, hopefully, if the politics don't come into play, which they often do, based on this victory SC got over UCLA, they should get that number one seed. They were projected to seed at number 2 going into the tournament, but I think based off of this win, beating UCLA, this is now their second time beating UCLA this season, and they have a higher ranking nationally than UCLA. SC should get that number 1 seed, and if they, I'm pulling for them. I'm Team Juju. I'm pulling for them. If they beat Stanford on Sunday in this championship game, there is no way that selection committee should not seed USC as a number 1 team. So those are my breakdowns. Just one more note that I want to make about USC. Mackenzie as well had a phenomenal game. She stepped up in a real way. She put in, I think, like 15. So, kudos to SC's coach for putting so many veteran players around Juju. I mean, like Caitlin, Padilla, and Mackenzie Forbes are all transfer players from Ivy League that she brought in to have vets on that team to help Juju with this transition. And the role players have been phenomenal. Another player that, hasn't really been talked about, but she's key, that comes off the bench, is Kayla Williams. And Marshall, if she continues, that's our center. She's had a double-double for the last 3 games. She is key. If she continues playing how she is playing, SC will go far in the tournament. SC is gelling. The role players are stepping up in a way that I could see them getting a lot farther in the tournament than anyone would expect. So that's my takes. Those are the LDR takes about the women's college basketball conference tournaments and what I foresee leading into March Madness and Selection Sunday. I'm also just putting this out there. I'm going to go live on Selection Sunday, which is Sunday, March 17th, to talk about the teams that got selected in their seedings and what I kind of foresee and think about what might happen come tournament time. So thanks for checking it out. Make sure you like, follow, share. I appreciate y'all. Deuces. Peace. Love you.